Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Wheat, and today we're going to be talking about Walt Disney's Adventureland. Walt Disney's Adventureland is a game that was manufactured by Parker Brothers in 1956. The game runs for about 20 minutes of game time, is rated for 2 to 4 players, and is rated for ages 5 and up. But let's dig into it a little further, shall we? Walt Disney's Adventureland game was released in 1956, shortly after the opening of the original Disneyland park in 1954. The game was later reprinted in 1972 with a more streamlined, upgraded look. The game has been released in multiple countries, including the United States as well as Australia. The Adventureland game is one of a series of 6 Disneyland games that also include the games of Fantasyland, the Monorail board game, the Riverboat board game, It's a Small World game, and the Pirates of the Caribbean. All of the art of this game, including the game board and all supplement cards, were drawn by Walt Disney himself. The players of this game travel on sightseeing boats through the rivers of Adventureland. They are required to take pictures of some of the various sights and animals that they will pass. Each player is given a number of objects they must photograph, and the first player to reach the dock with all 3 of their pictures is the winner. Depending on what edition of the game you have, you could either have the 1956 original version or the later reprinted 1972 version. Both games play exactly the same, but the 72 version is a little bit longer on the track. This game does come with multiple pieces. It comes with a game board, it comes with a colored spinner, 4 sightseeing boats, and comes with 12 white and 12 pink picture cards. To set up this game, one player deals out 3 pink cards to each player. These cards show the objects that each player must photograph. Leftover cards are placed aside. The white cards, which are the final pictures, are shuffled and placed in a pile on the space on the board marked "Place white cards here face down." Each player chooses a boat and places it in the starting dock. The game is now ready to begin. The first player spins the spinner and moves their boat in the direction of the arrows, the same number of spaces on the track as shown by the spinner. If a boat lands on a plain space, their turn is now over. Boats landing on an occupied space go to the next vacant space. If a boat lands on a camera space, the player may take a picture. This is done by drawing one of the white cards from the top of the pile. If the picture that they have drawn matches one of their pink cards, they may keep it. If it does not match any of their pink cards, they must return to the bottom of the picture pile. Players keep moving their boats around and around Adventureland until one player has taken all of their pictures. That is, they have drawn a matching picture for each of their pink cards. After a player has drawn their 3rd picture, they may move an extra spin to help speed their boat towards the finish. That player does not draw any more picture cards, but following the directions of the arrows, heads directly for the dock, spinning the arrow on each turn as usual. To win the game, be the first player to reach the dock with all 3 of their pictures. Well, this has been an overview of Walt Disney's Adventureland. Walt Disney's Adventureland is a standard roll, spin, and movement game. It's very basic, very straightforward, very easy to play. It's aimed for kids, originally purchased at the Disneyland park and later reprinted again in the 1970s. The version I have here is from 1972. The 1956 version and the 1972 version play exactly the same. The 72 version, like I stated, has a longer track, so it has more movement spaces, but it has cards and it has the little spinner, so it plays exactly the same. It's just for a slightly longer game. Like I said, the rules are very straightforward. They're very easy to learn, very easy to play, very easy to pick up. The game is very kid-friendly. If you're putting a game night together, this would be a really interesting option to pull out. This game's a little more on the rarer side, since a lot of the Disney games are no longer in print. Like I said, the game is very kid-friendly. If you want to get your kids involved in gaming, this is a pretty decent option. It's kind of in with the really early stage Parker Brother Milton Bradley games of the 70s that are very kid-friendly, situational building, like friend building, basic mechanic learning, things of that nature. So it's a pretty decent game. It goes online anywhere from about $20 to $40 if you can find a copy of it. Like I said, the Walt Disney games are a little on the rarer side because they haven't been in print for a long time, and they are very desirable. You can find copies online, but be careful because there are a lot of copies that are missing pieces. And trying to find pieces for some of these games is really hard. Very rarely do they come up for sale, and if they do, it depends on what edition it is. So some of them are slightly off. But that being said, if you can find a copy of this game, I'd recommend picking it up and giving it a try. Like I said, it's a decent game for a family game night. If you're with an older audience, you could play it, but I'd recommend finding something else. It's a very rudimentary, basic game. Not too much skill involved. Like I said, it's just spin the spinner and move, and hopefully you get lucky, depending on the cards. So if you haven't played Walt Disney's Adventureland, I would recommend giving it a try. But if you want something a little harder, a little more strategic-based, I'd recommend finding something else. But for what it is, it's a very novel experience. So if you haven't played Walt Disney's Adventureland, I'd recommend giving it a try. Well, that's it from us here at the Gamer's Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on Walt Disney's Adventureland from Parker Brothers. If there's a game in the future you'd like us to review or go over, please put it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so that we can be the first to check out our future content. And as always, please, have a great gaming day.